You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
Blank, blank.
Is this thing on? Taps
Hello?
microphone 3 times.
Do we even remember how to start a podcast? It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 whole weeks.
An unexpected break. Sorry to our listeners, but the break was slightly expected, but then I forget. Was this the time I was sick?
I think it had to do with like sickness and health and just sickness. And we had a friend recently who got married. And it's been a whirlwind of a last 2 weeks. Let's
Lots
just put
of people
it that
were
way.
in town.
Activities
in the wedding.
every night of my life. I feel like yesterday was the first night I've been able to sit on my couch and not have to like communicate or socialize with anybody. Like, don't get me wrong, I love all of my friends, but sometimes I'm like, I need to socialize with myself, by myself.
I need to just sit and crochet for a second.
Yeah, I just need to like not think about other people, please. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun these last 2 weeks, but I'm starting to feel drained. But on the plus side, the weather's gorgeous today. Like truly, I am so excited to like take a walk later tonight with the dog and just enjoy the cool air,
The fresh air. Yeah, it's about to be summer, which is exciting.
I love those like. I'm not into summer.
Right. You like the transition.
I like that transition period. It's just, if the weather could be like that all year, it'd be perfect. And only hot when I need it to be hot, you know?
I love to go on a long walk. So I love the summer. I love just when it's nice enough to like be where you could be outside and you're not freezing.
Yeah. We should
I'll
go on
walk
a walk
anywhere.
together at some point. But it sucks because we could walk to each other and then we'd meet in the middle and be like, all right, bye.
All right, bye. Well, maybe we'll walk. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out. You could drive to me, then we could walk somewhere.
Have Matt drop me off and then we walk all the way up here and then Matt drives you back home.
Amazing. Well, anyways, we're back. Sorry for being gone.
We apologize to his lords and ladies.
And we are here with Two Girls, One Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. This is your favorite quote-unquote weekly Podword Crosscast. We really do try to make it weekly, but, you know.
I feel like in the summer it always gets kind of messed up because we're traveling more or, you know, things come up. I've gotten the stomach bug twice within like 2 months, and I'm talking like throwing up bug.
Oh, no.
So that's another reason why we had to stop. It's like, I don't know. Hello? You're only supposed to get it once, like every once in a while. I got it twice so close to each other.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. And before
I'm
that,
so
I hadn't
sorry.
gotten a stomach bug in like years. I remember before I got sick the first time, I told my dad, I was like, oh yeah, I don't even remember the last time I threw up.
Yeah,
Joke's on me.
It's crazy. Like, I feel like throwing up was definitely much more of like a kid thing. I don't know if like biologically things change when you're older, but like, yeah, I cannot remember the last time I threw up. Even when I had the stomach bug. I guess I didn't. Maybe I didn't have the stomach bug then. But, you know, it's like, I don't know. My brother's girlfriend also had the stomach bug, and she's like, I hadn't thrown up since I was like 7. And I'm like, that's absolutely bananas. But hey.
It's wild. That's this time of year, though. It's stomach bug season, so people, be careful out there. Wash your hands.
And don't swap saliva with people you don't know.
That was my mistake. Just kidding.
I tell her every day, and yet...
I like to go out and get one kiss from someone on the street every morning to start my day.
She's the kiss fairy.
But speaking of things being all out of whack, we don't have a Pollapalooza for last week, so we'll just skip right on over that and instead go straight to Heights and Shites.
Yeah, sorry about that. we try our hardest. We really do.
Once I'm off I'm like someone that really sticks to a schedule. Once I'm off of it, if I get thrown off, I'm like, I can't do anything.
I'm 100% the same way.
It's like I clean the bathroom on Tuesdays. If something happens for a Tuesday I can't clean, it's like I have to clean it next Tuesday. You know? It's not in my like routine then on the other days. So.
I know exactly what you mean. Matt and I were having this conversation yesterday where like I have like my set things that I do every day, like my habitual daily chores.
Mm-hmm.
And if he asked me to do something that's not in that day's chores, I'm like, I don't know, maybe later I can do it. I
It's
can't.
like, I don't think I'll be able to find the time.
Sorry. I'm like, you'll have to remind me another day. And then he reminds me another day. And I'm like, today is just not the day. It's just not in,
That's a
I
Thursday
struggle.
thing.
Yeah,
And it's
I
Monday.
struggle.
Well,
But let's talk about our hits and shits. Let's get back into the crossword world. There were some really good crossword puzzles this week. So.
Sure, except most of my puzzles are from the previous week.
That's okay. I got some from this week, and you can
Okay.
do the ones from the previous week. So it'll feel like really well-rounded.
Right,
Here's to hoping, right?
Mhm.
Cool. Do you wanna start us off?
I will start. Sure. I did the Sunday, April 23rd Washington Post, not by Evan Bernholz. He had two other people do it that week. I guess he took a break.
Good
I
for
guess
him.
everyone's taking breaks. Matt Forrest and Taylor Johnson. And I liked the theme. The revealer was 104 across. Failed to start with critically important information, as 7 entries in this puzzle have literally done. And the answer was buried the lead.
It's a great phrase, by the way.
Right. But then these were some of the clues. So 27 across. This just in. A small town learns its local dump has officially reached capacity, leaving city council to debate its ... And the answer was rash decisions, but they dropped the lead, so it's trash decisions. When you drop the T, rash decisions is also a common saying.
Amazing.
Another example, 36 across. Set to disrupt the toupee industry, research on newly discovered supplement has earned it the nickname ... airline food, which is a saying, but it's dropping the H for hairline food.
Very good, very good.
Industry.
Very good.
And then another one I liked from that puzzle, which reminded me of the Pig Latin episode you did, was 24 across, hightails it informally. And the answer was amscrays, which is like a Pig Latin word that has made it into, everyone's vocabulary. It means scram. In English, it's scram. In Pig Latin, it's amscray.
Amscray. Very good. We actually talk about, there's a really, really, really early episode, I think. It might be the code switching episode 2. I can't remember. But we talk about, or maybe it was your translation episode where you talk about like loaner words or words from other languages that like kind of make it into a different language. That's what you're talking about. It's been so long since we've done that episode that I cannot remember what that phenomena is called. But
yeah,
if you're curious, I think that's like one of our first 5 episodes. Just give them all a listen and let us know.
I don't know if we should be directing people to the first 5.
I know. I have listened to some of our older episodes and I'm like, wow, our audio struggled for a bit. But hey, it's better now.
Yeah.
We're just 2 girls living our life.
Crossword.
Yeah, trying to do a podcast.
That's all I got from that puzzle.
Cool. I'll do the Friday, April 28th New York Times by Malika Honda and Eric Agard. I liked one across because I'd learned something. I didn't realize there was a word for this. Sitcom joke involving a change in setting. And the answer is cutaway gag. So like, to like take it to a new setting.
There's no way you're getting me into that hairdresser's. And then it's like 2 seconds later, cut to their in the hairdresser's chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic.
25 across. Buzzkill's response while playing Would You Rather. And the answer is neither. And I can guarantee that I am that person. Because I've since learned that the game is not supposed to be taken like so literally, but I always could never understand why anybody would play Would You Rather, because I'd be like, well, I would rather do none of those. And people are like, that's not fun. Just like, which, I'm like, literally neither. So like, you wouldn't catch me in this situation. And people would get so mad at me. And now reading this clue, I was like,
well, you are the buzzkill.
Am I the problem? I'm the problem. I like this one a lot. 65 across. Scar line, ?
Something from Lion King.
Yes, and the answer was roar. I was like, Scar line, roar? What in the goddamn hell are they talking about? And then I was like, oh, Scar the lion. Very good.
The gay uncle. I thought they were going to have like an actual line. I'm like, what is his famous line?
Right. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. And then 12 down, I just felt this was a cute one, of course. Eric and Malika did a good job with this puzzle, but I feel like they missed an opportunity here. 12 down, quote, where do all these keep coming from? Question mark, exclamation point, end quote. And the answer was another one. I feel like it should have been like a DJ Khaled clue, but I don't know. Maybe for the New York Times, it wasn't good enough. DJ Khaled couldn't make the cut, but another one was fun to see in the puzzle. And that's what I have from that puzzle.
Well, I did the Tuesday, April 25th New Yorker by our friend Paolo Pasco. Not really our friend. He's our friend. We're not
his friends.
Right. I always love Paolo's puzzles. Yeah. 22 across, blank rock, classification for Steely Dan and Wilco to some. And the answer is dad rock.
Dad rock.
32 across, ability to deal with pricks, question mark. And the answer was pain tolerance.
Nice.
54 across, only body parts visible in the dark, often in cartoons. Eyes.
Blink, blink, blink.
11 down, romantic spot, question mark. And the answer is love bite.
Ooh, oh my God.
14 down, entertainer who's still performing in public. And the answer was human statue.
Who's still performing in
right.
public. Very nice. Very
classic. Good. There's a lot of good ones, but I can only pick a few.
I know. I feel like there's some constructors like Paolo, Amy Lucido, where like I really have to just do the puzzle at this point. You know, I basically be like, it's good. Trust me, do the puzzle. Yeah. I can't read every single clue and answer. I did the Saturday, April 29th New York Times by David Steinberg. 13 across. Respond quickly as to criticism with, quote, back.
Clap back.
Clap back. That was nice. 50 across. Salmon, for instance.
Silent L.
Shade.
Oh, nice.
Very good. And then this is funny to me. 56 across. Cry of amazement. And the answer was wowie zowie.
Wowie zowie.
Wowie zowie. That's my first time ever hearing wowie zowie. Very good. That's what I have from that puzzle.
Well, I have one last puzzle to talk about. The April 26th New York Times by Aaron Rosenberg. Aaron M. Rosenberg, I should say. Just a one-off, 36 across, camel and sand, for example. I was like, what is this? And the answer was tans. Like, oh, yeah. But I liked the theme was Vertigo themed, like the movie.
Oh, okay.
So the revealer was 58 across, 1958 film that is the subject of this puzzle. And there was like highlighted lines that kind of made a swirl in the puzzle. Ooh. And then each like highlighted area was a different thing that had to do with the movie Vertigo. So 24 down, Master of Suspense, who directed 58 across, Hitchcock. 21 across, dizzying camera technique invented for 58 across, dolly zoom.
Or what's it called? A Zolly, we call it in the the industry.
Oh, cute. 31 across, structure climbed in the climactic scene of Vertigo, tower. 27 across, 58 across, co-star James Stewart. And then 37, 58 across, co-star Kim Novak. So it was all,
that's fun.
Vertigo
I love that movie. I
think
they're remaking it.
Are they? I haven't seen it in forever.
If you're interested in James Stewart, you can listen to Grace's topic where she talks about the Yeti. And I will not reveal how he's involved, but if you're a longtime listener, you know how he's involved. But if you are new, potentially here from TikTok, it's interesting. You wouldn't think that Yetis would be connected with James Stewart, but in fact, they have a history. They have a history.
They
do. Speaking of themes, I liked the theme from Monday, May 1st, New York Times by Alina Abidi and Matthew Stock. Essentially, it was like animals and their movement, but in like common phrases. So, for example, 13 across, corporate grind is rat race.
Nice.
Okay. 28 across, aquatic migration, sometimes aided by a fabricated ladder. The answer is salmon run. 43 across, ballroom dance in a 4/4 time, the foxtrot. 45 across, platform at the center of a fashion show, a catwalk.
Nice.
And then 54 across, core building exercise that starts on all fours, and it is a bear crawl. So it was like a fun little theme.
Have you seen a salmon run in real life? Sometimes
Not in real life. I've seen videos of it.
Yeah, on the videos. But the slides that they put the salmons in, sometimes the slides are so long and they're looping around. These fish must be so confused.
I know.
They're what the hell is going on right now?
I
They
know.
send them through these tiny slides that are basically the size of the salmon.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they go. I mean, they go to a different spot in the river, but they're doing all types of weird maneuvers.
They should
And
make
they're going
a Disney
fast.
film about it, because I would love to hear some inner monologues of these poor salmon.
Whoa!
Yeah, some are like, this is so cool, and others are like, I am not into extreme sports. I hate this time of year.
Sick.
Yeah. I have one more puzzle. I'm going to end with the Monday, May 1st, New Yorker by Brooke Husick. One across. This was, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I have to finish this puzzle. Shows such as Itaewon Class or Crash Landing on You, informally. And the answer is K-drama. And these are two of my favorite effing K-dramas. Would highly recommend. Crash Landing on You is about a woman who crashes in North Korea and falls in love with a army captain there. It's amazing, truly. It's amazing. And then Itaewon Class is kind of hard to explain what that one's about, but also very good. Yes, I'm should I rewatch both of these? Probably not, but will I?
Maybe.
I'm in a rewatch era. I don't know. Do you rewatch TV shows often?
No, I did in the beginning of COVID. But no, not too often. Although I do want to rewatch Jury Duty because it was so funny and really short. So
I really want to watch that when Matt and I get the time, we'll watch that and let you know what we think. I find that rewatching shows is better for when I'm crocheting, because I get that itch scratched of what I'm looking for.
Right.
But I have something on in the background when I'm crocheting, but I don't need to be 100% paying attention to the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Anyway, 10 down, Hollywood Award, ? Star, Baker, Paul, Hollywood.
Oh my God.
I know. 15 down, event where you might get a lot of bang for your buck. A sex party. Duh. And then 22 down, genre films that blend horror and humor informally. Zomcoms.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, that's what I got from this past week. Did you have any more? I think you said you were done. Okay,
I'm done.
Okay. So I guess it's time for us to flip the coin. I didn't pull it up, so give me a second. I'm flipping the coin now. Tails.
Me? Little me?
Little you.
My topic comes from the Thursday, April 27th, New Yorker by Patrick Barry. 53 across, Nevada city that aptly rhymes with casino.
Reno?
Is Reno. I'm talking about the history of casinos in Reno and then casinos in Vegas, because it's kind of related.
Interesting. This is a really good topic.
Chelsea and I have been dying to go to Vegas, so I was like, I have to do this. I'll use it as fake research for Vegas, or
amazing.
Kill two birds with one stone. So, when you think of the largest gambling city in the U.S. or maybe even the world, you probably think of Las Vegas.
Yes.
But did you know that Reno was once the most popular gambling city in the whole country?
I didn't know that.
You did?
I did, but I think that's mostly because we have Atlantic City in New Jersey, and I know an obscene amount about casinos, more than I thought I ever should. I mean, yeah.
Right. She's a Jersey gal.
I got casinos on the brain.
You can still gamble in Reno, but it's nowhere near Vegas levels. So what happened?
True. Tell me.
Okay. Native Americans settled the modern-day Reno area as early as 2000 BC, but most of its written history started in the mid-1850s when pioneers began settling in the area. The economy depended on agriculture and tourism. I know now, a lot of Nevada and Vegas is a desert, but it wasn't always that way. Like Vegas means valley. It used to be like very lush there, but then they ended up like diverting that water somewhere else. I don't know. That I'm not covering all that, but anyways, they used to have agriculture there, and also Reno was a huge tourist place because a lot of travelers would go through Reno on their way to California for the gold rush. People would be stopping in Reno. But then gold was also discovered in Virginia City, silver was discovered in Comstock Lode, and there was even a bigger rush of miners through Reno. Then there was the Central Pacific Railroad that also brought people to the area.
Okay.
So the city was officially named Reno after Major General Jesse Lee Reno, who was a Union officer in the Civil War. In 1926, the city built the Reno Arch on Virginia Street, and they held a competition to come up with a city slogan, and the winner would get $100. It's the same way that Icy got its name, like a competition. Why don't people do that anymore?
I know.
G.A. Burns.
I think they do, but you have to be like involved in like your local government to know when they're holding these like things.
Maybe that's true. Or like, I feel like every time they do put something up to a vote, it's always like, what was that one? The military ship, was it in the UK or was it in Canada where everyone voted for like Bodie McBoatface?
Exactly. Yeah. You cannot put things like this on the internet because
no, you cannot. Okay, so the nickname that won was the biggest little city in the world, and it's still written under the arch today. So you can still see the Reno Arch, and it says the biggest little city in the world. It's very cute.
That's very cute.
In 1931, Nevada became the first state to legalize gambling, and it also passed a law that made divorce easier in Nevada than in any other state in the U.S. So people from California started going to Nevada to get divorced.
Okay. Needs must.
And the tourism industry started booming. By the late 1930s, huge casinos were operating in Reno. The Bank Club was the biggest casino in the world. But this combination of gambling and divorcing gave Reno a risque reputation. So then people started going there and to Vegas for other like adult and risque activities. That's kind of how they also got that like Sin City vibe.
Got it. Got it.
Mm-hmm. In the 1940s and 50s, Harrah's and Harold's Club rose to power in Reno. But meanwhile, Vegas was also taking advantage of Nevada's legalized gambling. More on that later. But by the 1950s, Vegas had taken the throne as a gambling capital of the world, so Reno started declining a little bit, and then in 1988, the U.S. approved the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, which allowed Native American-owned casinos to open up. There were a lot of those in California, pushing Reno even further down the list as like a gambling destination. But then in 1991, American Airlines bought out Reno Air. There used to be like an airport in Reno. American Airlines bought out the airport, but then after 9/11, American Airlines had to cut down a bunch of their fleet, including the Reno fleet. The Reno airport shut down. Now the only way to get to Reno is by car or bus.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Right. So 9/11 caused the fall of Reno.
I shouldn't laugh.
It always comes back to 9/11. But yeah, so that's kind of the little gambling history of Reno. Not too exciting, but they were at one point at the top of the world.
At the top of the world.
Their Nevada neighbor, Vegas, ended up also expanding, quickly overtaking Reno, and, today still stands as the top gambling destination in the world. So why was Vegas different than Reno?
Tell me.
So Las Vegas didn't officially become Las Vegas until June 1st, 1911, and it was a pretty quiet town, but in the 1930s, that all started changing. First, the divorce laws, that was like all of Nevada, said anyone who was a resident of Las Vegas or Nevada for 6 weeks could file for divorce. So people were going to live there for 6 weeks so they get divorced.
Damn.
Also, there was a construction of the Hoover Dam just east of Vegas, and this attracted thousands of workers into the city. Also, in 1931, gambling became illegal. So a lot of gambling places opened up, and a lot of gambling places illegally sold alcohol during Prohibition.
So you said gambling in 1931 became legal? You said illegal. Just want to make sure.
Sorry, became legal, yeah.
Okay, got it.
I think there was already illegal gambling places, but then they became legal. They were still illegally selling alcohol, but then in 1933, Prohibition ended and alcohol became legal. So by 1940s, casinos had been operating both legally and illegally in Las Vegas for decades, most notably on Fremont Street, which is not where the iconic Las Vegas Strip is. So it wasn't until 1941 that the iconic Las Vegas Strip was born. The very first casino built on the Strip, which actually isn't even in Las Vegas. The Strip is technically outside of the city limits.
Interesting.
It's in Clark County, Nevada, with the majority located in Paradise Township, FYI. But the first casino on the Strip was El Rancho Vegas, opened by Thomas Hull. So Thomas Hull's main focus in opening El Rancho was to make a motel for tired drivers. If you want to learn more about motels and how like the motel culture kind of started in the US and why it had to do with more people getting cars and, you know,
All
interstates or whatever, listen to episode 124, The American Dream. But he wanted to open up this motel and he just added a casino to the hotel. But its main focus was not the casino part. It was just the motel. But it became a hit to like have these two connected together. So then other people were like, we want to make other motels that are similar on Highway 90. In comes infamous mobster Bugsy Seagal, which is an amazing name.
Yes.
He bought El Cortez, which was a casino on Fremont Street, but he started running into trouble with law enforcement who knew of his ties to the mob. This was like Fremont Street is in Las Vegas. So he was like, I got to get out of Vegas because the cops are on me because they know I'm in the mob. So then he started looking for a casino hotel slightly outside of city limits. Just like El Rancho, which was slightly outside of city limits. So he met this man called Billy Wilkerson, who was planning a resort named Flamingo. Wilkerson needed money, and he was like excited that Bugsy Seagal, who posed as like a legitimate businessman, wanted to work with him. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'll work with you. I'll open this." So Seagal bought 2/3 of Flamingo from Wilkerson, and eventually took complete control of the project after intimidating Wilkerson so much that he fled to Paris. So yeah, don't do business with people in the mob.
Don't.
It cost Seagal $6 million to open Flamingo, and while it had some issues at first, it sparked a new business idea, a luxury hotel casino that offered a full Las Vegas experience instead of just a motel with some gambling. This was like the first nicer hotel casino.
Like hotel situation. Okay.
Right. The mob's success with Flamingo, which turned over $4 million profit in 1948 alone, led them to open several other casinos on the Strip, including the Frontier and the Sands. These hotel casinos also had entertainment shows, music, and private gaming rooms. Meanwhile, Benny Binion, who was not in the mob, he opened the Horseshoe Casino in 1951, which...
These names are amazing, by the way.
And the
people just don't get named this way anymore.
No, and there's a Horseshoe. We drive past Horseshoe Casino every time we have to go through Indiana. That's like the big one. But he opened the first one in 1951, and his was just about gambling. It wasn't about the live shows or whatever. It was the first casino to offer no upper limit on maximum bets and to introduce free comps like drinks and stuff to gamblers, which is how most places do it today in Vegas, especially.
And also in Atlantic City, like I remember we went to spring break in Atlantic City, which first of all, there's not much going on in Atlantic City anymore, but we were all recently 21. We spent $40 for a Groupon each to like have 2 nights at Resorts Casino. And the best part was sitting on the floor with your pennies and just drinking way too sugary, no alcohol drinks all night. It was amazing.
Right. And there's your clocks.
Yeah. Why else go to the casino?
Exactly. It's like, can I get a Shirley Temple? Okay. By the 50s, Vegas had surpassed Reno as the gambling capital of Nevada thanks to all the investment from the mob. So that was the difference between Vegas and Reno, was that the mob was in Vegas and they opened a lot of casinos. But
if you've seen The Godfather, then you know that the mob was in Vegas.
But the mob would also be the cause of Vegas's downfall in the 70s and 80s. So, unsurprisingly, the mob was skimming profits off the top.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Then, there was 2 recessions, and also Atlantic City opened up its first casino in 1978. So all of a sudden, like, Vegas had competition in the States, and that led to kind of a stagnant period for Vegas in the 70s and 80s. It was tired. It was run down, like, kind of dead.
They needed revitalization.
And they got it with a man named Steve Wynn in the Mirage Resort.
Is that his real name?
Yeah.
You win big with Steve Wynn. I feel like that would be his slogan.
Yeah, it should be. It's spelled W-Y-N-N, but you're right. Well, he opened the Mirage Resort in 1989 on the Strip, and this was the first mega resort and a turning point in Vegas history, inspiring a massive construction boom during the 1990s. This led to other mega casino resorts like Treasure Island, MGM Grand, Luxor, Bellagio, Venetian, and more. The mega resorts focused on providing middle-class customers with an affordable, luxurious experience, many of them in a family-friendly setting. So a very different vibe from like the hard gambling, raunchy Vegas that was like the mobster Vegas versus the more family-friendly, non-gambling, things to do in Vegas. Right. Today, Vegas is, most people still go there for gambling. Like statistics show like 80% of people go there for gambling, but there's so much to do there now.
Right. I can't wait to go. Next year, after things from this year, the things that we've got scheduled
Calm down. Well, one of the things that I read when it was like things to do in Vegas now, antiquing is huge. And there's like a huge like antique secondhand industry there. Which,
are we driving to Vegas?
I know.
So we can drive antiques
maybe
back?
We should drive. It's a long drive.
I know. Let's think about it.
Right. Okay. So this is some trivia about Vegas from westgateresorts.com. Las Vegas is the brightest place on Earth. The Las Vegas Strip has around 30 hotels and casinos lining its path, and their enormous signage and neon lights make them the brightest spot on the planet. NASA published an image taken by astronauts on the International Space Station showing just how bright the Strip looked from above Earth. Las Vegas Strip is even brighter than Hong Kong, the world's brightest city, thanks to its concentrated display of lights.
Wow. Talk about light pollution.
Right?
And the Cullens could never live there.
Not in Vegas. You know what's crazy about Vegas, though? Well, I guess it isn't that crazy. People know this, but I went to Vegas like for my birthday a couple of years ago. Not to Vegas. I flew in there and then we drove to Utah. And it was like beautiful. Like there's national parks. You see the skies. It's like a beautiful nature area. Just, a couple hours outside of Vegas. But that's another option. You go out there, do a little gambling, do a little national park.
Split it up a little bit. You can do the best of both worlds.
One night, you have the most light pollution you've ever seen in your life. The next night, you can see the stars perfectly. You can see the freaking Milky Way.
There you go.
Okay. People in Las Vegas consume more shellfish in a day than the entire United States does in a year.
This is wild to me.
Shrimp cocktail is a Las Vegas staple, and seafood buffets are common throughout the city. So, reports show that people consume 60,000 pounds of shellfish every day in Vegas. That's more than the entire country collectively eats in an entire year. Isn't that crazy?
And like, not for nothing, but from somebody who grew up on one of the coasts, like, seafood is just much better when you're on the coast. That's just a fact.
Tell that to Vegas.
I'm telling them right now. I just can't imagine like how, especially if it's like seafood buffets and fresh it is. I'm always like, how good is the seafood? But people are just like, it's Vegas. Let's get our shrimp cocktails. Let's get our lobster tails. And I'm like, do you, boo? You do you.
Buffets already are like questionable to me, especially now with everything. Like now that I'm so much more aware of how everyone breathes all over everything. But like a seafood buffet, especially, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to talk about gambling. Like,
talk about the stomach bug.
That's how you get norovirus. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I've already gotten it twice this year.
Yeah, not interested.
Okay. Over 300 weddings happen every day in Las Vegas. Wow. To learn more about elopement, listen to Chelsea's episode 75. I now pronounce you monster and monster. The High Roller Ferris wheel is the tallest observation wheel in the world. It's on Las Vegas Boulevard, and it stands 500 feet tall. To put that in perspective, 500 feet is 50 stories tall.
Wow. I don't like heights. I don't know. I did the London Eye, and it freaked me out.
I could imagine you like shaking like a leaf. Okay, the MGM Grand is the world's largest hotel. It has 6,852 rooms spread across 30 floors. It has
crazy.
Four pools, 3 whirlpools, a spa, luxury sports bar, and the biggest casino in Vegas.
You want to stay there? 4 pools, Grace. You know how many pools we can go to?
Right.
Every pool.
And 3 whirlpools. It actually doesn't seem like enough.
Are they saying like whirlpool, like
hot tub?
What is it? Is that are they saying hot tub?
Yeah.
That's it? That's not nearly enough.
Well, usually it's like a hot tub with a pool, like attached to a pool. Maybe they're really big. I don't know. Has anyone ever stayed at the MGM Grand? Let us know what the hot tub situation is. Can you actually get a seat in it? Okay. In 1999, the Bellagio Hotel and Casino won a Guinness World Record for having the most fountains in any lake. There are over 1,200 fountains in the artificial lake on the property.
Wow.
The Bellagio Hotel also holds the Guinness World Record for the largest chocolate fountain in the world. So they hold a record for 2 big fountains. Their chocolate fountain is 27 feet tall.
I'm sorry, that's just so gnarly sounding.
Talk about norovirus as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Do not let your kids and their grubby little fingers near the chocolate fountain.
Because people think, like, sure, chocolate fountain is nice, but people are double dipping in the chocolate fountain. That's if they're not putting their fingers into it. You know what I mean?
And is it the question is this decorative or is this like, please also eat this? How often are they cleaning the pipes? You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Oh my God.
Okay. In 2019, Vegas lost the title for world's most profitable gambling city to Macau.
To Macau. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But in 2022, they got it back.
Okay. Oh, so a little bit of a gambling war going on here.
Right. Okay, and then I'm going to end with this, as if you need more motivation to go to Vegas. The largest sum anyone has ever won on Vegas slots was $39 million at the Excalibur.
Okay, this is great, because speaking of winning at slots, there are some TikToks that kind of show you some tips and tricks.
I've seen that. Okay, but let's say we go to Vegas and one of us wins like $5 million on a slot.
We're going to the biggest seafood buffet that you can ever imagine. And we're going to buy all of these antiques and ship them home. We won't even have to drive them.
True. We'll just fly a private jet home.
That's all I care about.
Do that for pollution. But
yeah,
we'll definitely upgrade to first class.
Perfect. If you won $5 million on a slot machine, all I would require of you is to pay for one dinner and ship our antiques home. Please. I'm begging my lord.
I just feel like, imagine like we're playing the same machine and I'm like, okay, you can play this one, and then you play one and then you win $5 million. I'd be like, no!
We'd work it out. But yeah, that's the dream. Could you imagine if we won big in Vegas?
That'd be amazing.
It would be.
It truly is the dream. I mean, I always live my life thinking that I'm going to win the lottery eventually. As someone who has never played the lottery,
You and Matt are constantly like, if I win big, and Matt's like, I really wish if I won the lottery right now, I would. I'm like, you got to play the lotto to win.
I'm waiting for the right time. I feel like I'll feel it, and then it'll be like beginner's luck.
Every time you go to a different state, buy a lottery ticket is what I've always been told. I don't know if that's legit, but it like increases your chances.
Right. Well, I don't really think that possibly can be true, but like it's all just random.
It's true. It's incredibly random. But if you're only buying tickets in Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. Especially like the national lotteries, like anybody in any state can win it. So if you're only buying tickets in Illinois, your chances are lower, right?
No.
Is that how statistics work?
No. Now for the lottery, it's just randomized numbers.
Grace would know.
So there's no like trick really.
I
think the only thing that ups your chances is to buy more tickets, you know, because then you have more chances of getting that random sequence.
Let's look up where the lottery is at currently.
Maybe we could find we look up where all the winning lottery tickets are, find some type of pattern.
There was one of the big winners was actually in northern Chicago, and the person never claimed their ticket. It was a year ago or something. And my dad was like, "Did you buy a lotto ticket?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not that smart. I didn't even know that I should have bought a lotto ticket recently."
I don't even know how to buy a lotto ticket, okay? That's my biggest issue. Right? I don't know how.
You walk into the gas station, you're like, "Hello, can I have one lotto ticket?" And then they ask you all these questions, and you're like,
they're like, "Which one?" I'm like,
"You pick, I don't know."
Lottery.
The big one, the one with the money. They're like, "Ma'am, get out of here." And I'm like, "Don't you need cash for this?" I feel like you need to buy them with cash, maybe not. There are so many things that I don't know about. Actually, funny you should say this about the casinos. The gas station near me has a casino in it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like people never win on those.
No, but every single time I'm in there, there's 2 people sitting there. I'm like, y'all are crazy.
Right.
Teach their own. People find joy either playing lotto at the local gas station or crocheting while rewatching K-dramas. So
sure. I mean, if that's what you want to spend your money on for entertainment, go for it.
Who am I to judge? I buy yarn and weed, mostly. So That was great. So my topic comes from the Saturday, April 29th, New York Times by David Steinberg, 42 across. Philosophy associated with beaches. And the answer is nudism. I'm talking about nudism and nude beaches today.
Amazing.
Yes. Have you ever been to a nude beach before?
No, I've just been to Europe.
Yes. Well, yeah, same. I've also never been to a designated nude beach, but I have also traveled through Europe in the summer. So we're going to first start by talking about like what nudism is as like a philosophy, okay? Nudism, it might also be called naturism, is a practice of going without clothes, generally for reasons of health or comfort. People interact freely and commonly without engaging in sexual activity. So mostly nudists are not doing this for like sexual gratification.
Mm-hmm.
So the history of nudism / naturism. Nudism or naturism in terms of like society has been practiced by many cultures across all of time. So depending on where you're from, your culture may or may not have different views on what it means to be nude around certain people at certain times, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to be focusing mainly on Western nudism. And when you think of like just nudity in Western culture, you think of nudity usually in context of bathing, swimming, and in saunas, either with single gendered groups, with family, or with mixed gender groups. But the term naturism originated in 1778 when French-speaking Belgian Jean-Baptiste Luc Plachon used the term to advocate nudism as a way of improving healthy living. You gotta be nude to be healthy. Duh. And the first ever naturist club in the Western sense was established in British-occupied India in 1891, and it was called the Fellowship of the Naked Trust, and it was founded by Charles Edward Gordon Crawford, and he founded the commune in Matharan, and it only had 3 members, himself and his 2 sons, Andrew and Kellogg.
So tell me there were these like British people in India like we're making a nudist colony.
Right. It was one man in India and his 2 sons, Andrew and Kellogg. Okay. Kellogg is like a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, the commune fell apart when Crawford was transferred to a different part of India, so it didn't last long. In the early 1900s, a series of papers were published on the subject of naturism, which kind of contributed to this worldwide growth of nudism and kind of encouraged nudists to begin participating in various social, recreational, and physical fitness activities in the nude. Between 1902 and 1906, Dr. Heinrich Pudor, under a pseudonym Heinrich Scham, published a series of philosophical papers and a 3-volume treatise discussing the benefits of nudity in coeducation and advocated for participating in sports while being free of cumbersome clothing. It's fine. Nudity is great. I literally cannot imagine running without like a bra on.
Well, I just feel like
You're just slapping everywhere. I'm sorry.
But the sun exposure is my issue. It's like, I gotta be covered up. I can't
using
have
a hell of a lot of copper tone, you know?
It took me forever.
If you could, they should do this. Maybe they do this. If they don't do this, they should. At every single beach, they should have like a tanning salon, you know, like the spray tans, but it should be
that's sunscreen. Mm-hmm. I wish I could get one of those like for my house.
Yes. And then you could pay somebody like €1 or something or $1, and then they rub the sunscreen in for you.
But if it's a fine enough mist, they don't have to.
If it's a fine enough mist, they don't have to.
Right.
And also, Grace and I have heard from a source that rubbing the sunscreen might actually make it less effective.
Mm-hmm. You have to pat it in.
To pat it in, which takes longer. It like doesn't break down the compounds that make it sunscreeny. We're not scientists, but, you know, I'll believe anything once.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, between 1906 and 1908, Richard Ungwitter proposed that combining physical fitness, sunlight, and fresh air bathing, and then adding the nudist philosophy, contributed to mental and physiological fitness, good health, and improved moral life view. People were like, this makes you a better person. It makes you happier. Okay. In 1903, the first ever organized club for nudists on a large scale opened in Hamburg, and it was opened by a man named Paul Zimmerman, and it was called Freilicht Park or Freilight Park. And by the 1920s, naturism was a widespread phenomena in Germany, UK, France, and other European countries, and eventually spread to the United States in the 30s. This is around the same time that casinos are cropping up. You got nudists getting all unclothed.
It's a great time.
Exactly. And it continued to grow from there. There are plenty of naturist clubs and organizations you can join all over the world, and even the International Naturist Federation formed in 1951. And then from the mid-20th century onward, these organizations also began opening holiday resorts to attract like-minded naturists. You can go on full naturist resorts where everybody's nude all the time. Let's see. So a little bit about naturism taken from the International Naturist Foundation. They defined naturism as, quote, a way of life in harmony with nature characterized by the practice of communal nudity with the intention of encouraging self-respect, respect for others, and for the environment. And many naturists and naturist organizations advocate that the practice of social nudity should not be linked with sexual activity. Of course, there are some groups that I'm sure it's, fine to do so, but as a whole, naturism is not about sex. It's about
being all
nude.
natural.
Yeah. Let's see. Their vision, the INF vision, envisions a world where everyone can live in freedom with or without clothing, with respect for each other and for the environment. A world where the human being has the right to be naked and it's protected, and nudity, including social nudity, is accepted. And they envision a world where naturism is practiced in accordance with the INF definition of naturism.
Imagine someone just walking to the grocery store butt naked.
I just unsubscribe.
I don't know. Are we too socialized against it? I just feel like that would be very weird.
It would be incredibly weird. And I mean, I applaud anybody who wants to live in a little place like that.
Yeah.
But,
my thing is it's basically the only time you could really do it and be comfortable is if you're outside in the sun, because otherwise then you get cold. But then it's you're going to get sunburned everywhere.
Right. No, I know.
I mean, if you're really pale, obviously there's
for
people
sure
who don't have that issue, but
there's a lot to consider when being completely
it
nude.
doesn't seem practical to me.
It doesn't seem practical. Okay, so what about nude beaches? I got a lot of my information from an article called Where Nudism Took Off by Tristan Rutherford on The Atlantic, and then also another article on The Atlantic called The Internet Killing the Nude Beach, ? By Stephanie H. Murray. Okay. So in the Where Nudism Took Off by Tristan Rutherford is a naturist himself, and the article is essentially about him and his wife going to a nudist enclave in Croatia for vacation and kind of talking about it. It's because Croatia is where nudism kind of exploded from. Well, not that it exploded from, nudism had been around, but there was an incident in Croatia in the 30s that really put naturism on, in the mainstream media. So if you remember from a few minutes ago, the first ever nudist club that opened on a large scale opened in Germany in 1898. At the time, the Austro-Hungarian Empire had control over the country of Croatia and all of its islands, including one such holiday island of Rab. So it was understandable that a place governed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire became a naturist haven. So above the harbor, Rab's harbor, sits a hotel called the Grand Hotel Imperial, where they display photos of these pioneering German naturists. So Germans would come from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they would come to Croatia, and they would vacation there, and they would vacation in the nude. So if you go to this hotel, they have photos on the wall of these pioneering German naturists. Here's a quote from the article. Quote, strong-backed, bare-butted German husbands stare boldly out to sea, their dainty nude wives standing alongside them, end quote. The hotel also features a photo series of the hotel's most famous visitors from August 11th, 1936. Then King Edward VIII and his mistress, Wallis Simpson. Quote, photos portray dapper off-duty royals, him in a baggy cream suit with white loafers, her in trousers and big sunglasses. After lunch, Wallis and Edward took a taxi boat from their 300-foot yacht, the Naline, Kvadner, beach, and skinny dipped. News of this royal daring spread faster than a TMZ blog post. Croatian naturism, hitherto confined to a few naked Germans, was exposed to the world. And so it was a huge publicity thing that the king and his mistress skinny dipped in this like naturist enclave in Croatia. It was insane. So Croatia has since become a sort of haven for naturists who wish to have a nude holiday from the Atlantic article by Tristan. He talks about the Croatian Istrian Peninsula, where they take naturism pretty seriously. Quote, since 1961, its 300 pine-perfumed acres have welcomed up to 8,000 naturists at a time. That's 16,000 buttocks of all shapes, sizes, and colors. We'll have to take a second because I feel like your butt cheeks equals one butt. You don't get two butts. Do you know what I'm saying? So if there's 8,000 nudists, there's 8,000 butts. But whatever, that's it.
But he's saying butt cheeks. Everyone has two.
He's saying buttocks.
But does buttocks mean butt cheek?
I thought it just meant butt. It's the long form of butt.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, and leave it in the comments. Let us know, does butt cheeks count as a butt? You know, do you have two butts or do you have one butt?
No, you have one butt, but you have two butt cheeks. The question is, buttocks.
Does buttocks equal butt cheeks or does buttocks equal butt? Anyway, so that's 16,000 buttocks of all shapes, sizes, and colors. In the world of naturists, there's safety in numbers. Once you've seen 10 willies, you've seen them all. This town-sized community isn't erotic. It simply seems like guests have forgotten to put on any clothes. Our daily naked shopping trip to the organic market isn't awkward.
Amazing.
Nor is the male camaraderie as we watch the World Cup in a beachside bar, stark naked and chugging beer. Granted, our naked round of mini golf is slightly off-putting, but our Adam and Eve holiday is enough to make us wonder why we bother with clothes on a sunny day at all. Sunscreen. Hello. Anyway, so that's just like a little bit of an aside about Croatia and how nudists go to vacation there.
Amazing.
We can't just thank the king and queen for nude beaches that kind of like put it on the mark, made it very like part of the mainstream. The naturism movement had expanded to the US by this time, thanks to a progressive-minded man named Kurt Barthel, who founded the American League for Physical Culture in 1929, which is now known as the American Association for Nude Recreation. It's like the biggest nudist organization in the United States. And this guy, Barthel, actually opened the first ever nudist camp in the United States in 1932, Sky Farm in New Jersey. So nudism was expanding, it was exploding. It wasn't just the king and queen, but like they kind of put it on the mark. Nude beaches became popular in France in the 1950s. Most beaches in Denmark and some in Norway have always been clothing optional. In fact, there are no laws prohibiting public nudity in Denmark, so it's normal to see topless women sunbathing along the harbor that runs through the city or people skinny dipping at the beach. In one of these articles, they talked to a man named Klaus Jacobsen, who grew up in the suburb of Copenhagen. And he remembers that when he was very young and he went to the beach with his family as a child, pretty much all women, including his mother and aunt, would be topless. In Germany, there are clothes-optional sunbathing areas in public parks like Munich or Berlin. And in the US, in the 60s and 70s, there was some tolerance for nude beaches. For example, at Jacob Riis Park in Queens, nudity was limited to Bay 1, the northernmost section, and formerly demarcated by jetties, and it was frequented by traditional naturists and their family. But then the park became part of the Gateway National Recreation Area in 1972, and federal law and local laws were kind of in, what's the word? They were different. Like federal law prohibited nudity, but local law kind of allowed for nudity in New York at the time, but federal law supersedes local law. So in 1974, the city finally passed a law specifically prohibiting nudity in the park, but the U.S. Park Police were kind of lenient with people and kind of still let it happen. But then nudity was made illegal by New York State in 1983, so it wasn't allowed any longer. And in the 70s as a whole, Europe was far more lenient with passing nudity laws, like allowing nudity in public, a lot more so than the United States. Americans have always trended more conservative with clothing optional beaches, though a survey published in 2022 suggests that Americans are coming around to nudism. People who say that they'd give nudity on a clothing-optional beach a try if they knew it was safe and legal jumped from 28% to 45% from 2015 to 2021.
Okay.
Whether or not you might have guessed it, nude beaches are declining in popularity. In the 70s and 80s, nude beaches were fairly well balanced in both age and gender. But a longtime naturist and blogger, Charles Dancy, says that old nude beachgoers tend to outnumber the young, and men far outnumber women. Quote, "It seems like the gender ratio has gone from nearly 50-50 to more than 95% males in some places."
Some men will literally do anything to be naked around each other.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
Date each other.
I feel that. And these articles list plenty of reasons that maybe this is the case. Rising populations of people from cultures and religions that aren't as tolerant as public nudity. I don't know if that's legitimate because they've always existed. Another one is increasing awareness of the risk of skin cancer, which...
I feel like is huge, yeah.
It's huge. But let me see here. But most people suggest that the reason nude beaches are declining is because of the internet.
Well, yeah, you don't want your picture being taken. And
Exactly. Before the internet, nude beaches allowed for an element of privacy. If someone brought a camera to the beach, it would be seized and the film destroyed. This meant that you could spend an afternoon at a nude beach with reasonable assurance that no one would see you naked or even know you were there except those that were present at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But with smartphones, photography and video are harder to police and easier to distribute, effectively dissolving, quote, private public spaces. Anything that happens in a public setting can easily find its way to a global audience. And so then, like, of course, millennials and Gen Zers are much more cautious about stripping down at a nude beach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to end with a quote from the article by Stephanie H. Murray, "The Internet is Killing Nude Beach." The Internet Killing the Nude Beach, ? It's a longer quote, but I think it's really interesting because it talks a little about why women aren't going to nude beaches anymore. Because I think it's really interesting that it's starting to trend more old versus young. And I think a lot of that has to do with the internet and like not being able to guarantee that your images won't be distributed online.
Right.
But this was the only thing that I could find talking about why it's men, like 95% men versus women anymore. Okay. Quote, "Public nudity of the old hippie variety, as a rejection of the exploitation and constraints of modern society, seems to have lost resonance among young people. For women in particular, nudity was sometimes seen as a way of pushing back against the strictures placed on the female body in a culture that sexualizes and commodifies it. Some people I spoke with speculated that modern women in France or Denmark have far greater freedom than their grandmothers did at their age, and thus no longer see the need for such liberation. Sarah Schrank, a history professor at the California State University at Long Beach, and the author of Free and Natural: Nudity and the American Cult of the Body, isn't so sure, theorizing that, at least in America, many young women have lost faith in the idea that public nudity could offer any kind of release. Her students seem to take for granted that the exposed female body will be sexualized and commodified. Their only conceivable options are to refuse to undress publicly or to do so in a way that allows them to control the process. Quote, "Why would you go to the beach?" Quote, she says the reasoning goes, "Sharing from your phone allows you to control what images people see and on what terms. This isn't so much a reflection of shifting values as a shifting reality, a byproduct of life in the age of social media." Quote, "Their bodies are always on display, and they're always a potential commodity," Schrank says. "It's hard to be born into that environment and then envision this world where you're freed of it. In the world we've got, it probably shouldn't surprise us that nude beaches are becoming passé." Interesting.
I definitely feel like I know that most nude, like, it's not a sexual thing, but I just, like, can you really trust these men that you don't know? You know?
That's my thing, too. I think,
it's like most of them are probably fine, but there's no way to know. So it's, like, not worth taking a risk. And, like, I feel like it'd be so awkward. If it was, like, an women,
I
thing.
feel a little bit more comfortable with that. And I think, like, there's something to be said about, and they make this distinction in Europe more so than in the United States. Nudism and naturism in the United States tend to go hand in hand. Like a nude beach, you're going to find naturists there. However, in Europe, naturism is like a very strict club thing where you join a club and you go to, you know, resorts with these club members and you go to beaches with these club members.
Right.
Whereas like in the United States, you could go to a beach and you don't know if everybody there is a naturist or just there to be nude.
To like see naked people. Right. Well, there are nudist clubs. There's one in Illinois. Like,
for sure.
Close to Chicago.
Yeah. There definitely are nudist clubs in the United States and nudist resorts. I feel like potentially even a nudist resort feels more comforting than a nude beach because I feel like there are at least rules and standards and expectations at like an actual organizational thing rather than just freeballing it on the beach with people you're like, I don't know if this person's in a club or if they're just some rando from down the street trying to take a picture of me or something.
Yeah. Apparently there used to be nude beaches in Chicago. My old boss said that there was one, I think it was like up on the north side somewhere. Like one of these beaches was nude.
I also read that a lot of beaches that eventually become nude beaches used to be beaches where gay men would go cruising.
Right.
And then they eventually turned into family-friendly naturist beaches, you know? I don't know. I feel like we have a lot. We talk about this sometimes, but a lot of what we have to we should thank marginalized groups for. That's like another thing just to keep in mind. Even after doing this topic, I don't know if I care enough to go. I'm like,
no. Well, I can't. I mean, like for me, it's just the sun exposure's not worth it. I wear like a freaking long sleeve bathing suit because I just like
it's too much work.
I am so pale and
like
I'm so scared of getting, you know, badly
you and
sunburned.
I know. We know that the struggle.
Yeah.
I feel like, can you confirm that you've got tents and umbrellas at the nude beach, please? Although I'd be interested to go to Croatia and see the vibe.
Right. Go to the grocery store with all these naked people.
Right. And a lot of these places are clothing optional. There are some places where it's like at the resorts, it's like no clothes at all, but a lot of places are clothing optional. So you can be your level of undressed or where you feel the most comfortable.
The nudist colony outside Chicago, they were like, you have to be nude.
Yeah.
Because otherwise then you get people who aren't naturists.
Exactly.
They mess up the vibe for everyone.
Exactly. And I mean, I think like the philosophy of naturism is, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They want people to, and there's studies that have been done that says nudism and naturism actually increase your self-respect and your self-confidence. And I think that is amazing, especially in this day and age. It's very difficult to do those things. I just don't know if that's the jump that I'm ready that I want to take to raise my self-confidence.
Don't trust the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, are you a naturist?
Let us know.
You can let us know on Twitter at the Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at the Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at the Good Eve Girls.
Come on down, say hi. And if you are a naturist, tell us your favorite nude beach. And we'll look it up on the internet.
Yeah, or how you got into it. I actually knew someone, I had a friend whose family was naturist. So he said they would always go vacation. They would like take RVs and vacation at a nudist colony. And he said that like he did it as a kid, but he said once like people started going through, like when you're a kid, you start going through puberty. He was like, then it was weird. And so he like stopped going for a little bit.
Damn. I wonder if he still goes now that he's an adult.
Probably. He seems like the type. In a good way.
Yeah. Cool. Well, until next time, our dear, dear listeners, please keep curious. As always, we love to hear about your curiosity. I hope you like to hear about ours.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.